What up, YouTube? This is 580 Juggalo. If you don't know by now, you need to fucking ad rate me, motherfuckers. Anyways, today's topic is UFOs, ancient aliens, and shit of that nature. Notice these are my personal beliefs on some of these topics and my opinions. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch this fucking video. Where can we start off with this subject about UFOs? First of all, my personal belief is, if they're not real, then how come you have so many sightings each year by massive amounts of people all seeing the same fucking thing in the same area in the sky? I mean, obviously that could be some kind of evidence, along with the pictures they've proven not to be photoshopped and faked. You know, I myself have viewed some shit where I'm like, I don't really know what the hell I'm looking at. I've actually had the wonderful experience of actually reporting some of that shit, and I will diverge in that story shortly. To kind of go off on the same subject here, along with, everyone's associating 2012 with aliens and all that shit. Well, have you ever looked at it this way? Everyone's like, oh, the Mayans this, the Mayans that. It says in the Mayans say that, the end of life as we know it on Earth will end. It's not saying specifically that Earth is going to end, like life on Earth is going to end. It's life as we know it. Some people reckon this to a higher state of being, to rise to a different, state of consciousness with surrounding things that goes on in our universe. It could mean that, the contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life is established, because that would definitely change life on Earth as we know it, because one, it would break down a lot of these bullshit religions. It would change people's perception on the universe. It would debunk a lot of myths and, unexplained things that we observe in everyday life. I mean, personally, I believe that's what's going to happen. 2012, I don't think the world's going to end, but I think somewhere around there, shortly after, or that could be the starting point. You have things like SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It's a non-profit organization that at one time was funded by NASA. They have raised, on the last 45 days, $200,000 in donations. And that's just in the last 45 days. People are dumping money into this organization because, I think it's smart. People should have the right to know what the fuck goes on in today's, what's actually going on. Look at MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. They're also a big supporter of searching for extraterrestrial life. And you have places like Dugway Proving Grounds, where you've had the Men in Black encounters. People explaining and seeing things and getting chased off or approached by government officials wearing the black shades, black hat, black suit, white, black tie, white undershirt. Look at philosophers like Johnny Mark. He was a Harvard professor, and he highly supported and documentaried a lot of witness accounts of alien abduction, and interviewed a lot of those people. You have people like, for instance, I'm not gonna rack my brain for that right now. Look at all the doctors and professors that explain shit for Ancient Aliens, a show on History Channel, which if you don't watch that, I would suggest it. There's a lot of good information on there. Also, with I mean, you got to look at it this way. If you, I mean, even Native American cultures have been writing and telling stories about the sky people for thousands of years. You know, ancient astronauts. Look at the Vimanas from the Hindu religions, the flying vessels that carried their gods around. You know, I think it's funny how a lot of monolithic, not monolithic, what the fuck did I use that word for? Monotheistic religions incorporate a god in the sky, as opposed to, you know, pagan religions as the god of earth. If a god came from the sky, you know, and look at things in the Bible, like you have, like it talks about Revelation, how, you know, God's people will ascend into the heavens and whatnot. I mean, it's like basic stuff. I mean, what happens in alien movies? You have the beam come down, it picks people up. That can be an explanation for some of that. What about water being found on the moon? What about, you know, all the shit that was found on the face of Mars? Also, why, you know, if there's something out there that, you know, why are we having government cover-ups? Why are we having, you know, you can actually go and look at images of the moon that have been blurred out. Like, there's spots on the moon's surface that has been deliberately blurred out, or, you know, or blacked out. You know, data, and it gets misrepresented, or, you know, lost data, you know, come up in a black spot. But that doesn't explain why you have blurred out images on the moon. That where you have a clear surrounding, you'll have a crater or the landscape of the moon, clear as day, and then something will be blurred out. And we're not talking about like just a square, like they'll just blur around out the image like that. What the fuck is that about? How come if we have the Hubble telescope, which can take images, you know, crystal clear images of shit, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, clearly, how come it's never been focused at the moon? How come it's never taken pictures of the moon? How come all the pictures of the moon have only been released in black and white? You know, a lot of people say, oh, the moon's white, but you have to also look at it this way. We're viewing the moon through how many layers of atmosphere, plus the distance covered to the moon. You know, visuals and color pigmentation gets distorted the farther you view something. Just because something looks black from a mile away doesn't mean it's actually blue when you get closer to it. You know, you gotta look at it that way. I mean, there's a link. I posted a link. It's called Moon Rising documentary. If you've never seen that, I would suggest watching it. Talking about the moon subject I was just talking about. It's a Joe Escamilla film. It's fucking very informational. Kind of make you be like, whoa. Just look at that. I openly, wholeheartedly believe in extraterrestrial life. You know, a lot of people disagree with me, but at the same time, you know, they have their set firm religions, which, you know, everybody's entitled to believe in whatever they want to believe. But to me, if you're just going to sit on that one religion and not listen to anything else in life, to me that's ignorant. Like, why close your mind down to something when you can have an open mind and become very intelligent, very nostalgic about your beliefs? You know, I just don't understand why. And the government was like, you know, if they was to come out, let's just say like a life-changing event would happen on Earth, and stuff like that has happened, but the government's covered up. Look at the Area 51 scandals and all the cover-ups that have been leaked, and the government's came out and acknowledged the fact that they've covered shit up. You know, look at the Roswell incident, which was a giant fucking cover-up. You know, you have witnesses describing people coming forth from Area 51 to talk about it. I mean, there's a lot of untrue, false shit about that subject, but there's quite a bit of information that's true that people have come out. You know, people that's worked for NASA are coming out. I mean, giant figures such as Buzz Aldrin, one of the motherfuckers that went into space on all the Apollo missions, has come forth and described, you know, seeing stuff that wasn't explainable or alien spacecraft. They have Armstrong in the video in the link that I posted down. Armstrong talks about, and they have an audio clip from him talking about, you know, observing a spacecraft that wasn't theirs. You know, and you can watch footage from NASA, like all their video feeds from space and all that, and you'll have stuff, you know, come across the antennas and all that shit, and a lot of that's debunked as, you know, it's ice particles and all that shit, which is true, but an ice particle, you know, it's just like you know, things in space. It's just an object can move in one direction in space and just keep on going until another force reacts upon it, bringing it into its orbit or gravity field or whatnot. An ice particle is an inanimate object going through space. Ice particles can't go through space, stop, go to the right, change direction again, and then go north. You know, the ice particles don't do that. Don't be fucking stupid. All the shit that, you know, are found in these videos, what the fuck does that prove? You know, that's got to be something. I mean, even the moon landing. I mean, personally, I don't honestly believe that the footage from the moon was correct, because you have the Van de Graaff. It's the camera they use to take pictures of the moon landing and, you know, the spacewalk and all that shit. You know, they have crosshairs in the video or in the pictures that detect, you know, distance and allows it to focus in and bring shit into focus. Well, when you have, that's what they call false horizons, which is also talked about in that video. You can bring the photo up and you can visibly see these crosshairs. You can see these crosshairs on the film. Well, they have still photos where the crosshairs have been taken out, like in the horizons and shit. You know, that's covering shit up, and I can understand covering some information up to an extent, but I think this is a shit that we have the right to know, because, you know, this is our life. This is the shit that we live in, and if there's stuff going on, I do believe we have the right to know. But that's my rant for right now. I have so much information on this, and I would be willing to get with anybody that wants to talk about this, to start a debate and or compare ideas, because I have pages and pages of notes that I've taken over the years, because it's something that I wholeheartedly believe in. So that's what I figured I'd post for today. Feel free to comment and or video responses are preferable. Alright, peace out, ninjas. Whoop whoop.